This is the Good Neighbor Podcast, the place where local businesses and neighbors come together. Here's your host, Mike Murphy.
Thank you, Charlie. Yes, I am Mike Murphy, host of the Good Neighbor Podcast. I talk to people here in Northern Kentucky that I think that you need to know. Oftentimes, you know my guests. Sometimes you don't. It's always a mixed bag. I talk to business owners. I talk to local nonprofits. I talk to movers and shakers. And so one of those movers and shakers is somebody who's become a friend of mine over the past few years, Nancy Grayson. And Nancy is the president and CEO of the Horizon Community Foundation. And that name could mean a lot of things. And so I'm going to ask Nancy to, first of all, say hello to the audience and to explain what is Horizon Community Foundation. Welcome, Nancy.
Mike, I'm so glad to be here. Hi, everyone. This is such a treat for me. And as Mike said, we've become partners for good over the last few years, and yes, really being able to share with you all the good work that's happening in Northern Kentucky. This is going to be a fun, different type of a podcast for you. Looking forward to sharing some stories. But currently, I have the great honor of serving as the president and CEO, as you mentioned, of Horizon Community Foundation of Northern Kentucky. A community foundation is a public charity. As you hear foundation, you probably think of grant making, and we certainly do that. But community foundations around for over 100 years. There are 903 in the U.S. at this point in time, and probably more are growing each year. It's a large group, but they're very focused on a specific geographic area. So when we were formed in 2017, we did not have this kind of centralized hub of charitable giving in Northern Kentucky, despite the fact that we're 400,000 people strong in Boone, Kenton, and Campbell County. So that is our area that we focus on. So as a public charity, as a community foundation, we are here to help create what we call common good for the commonwealth. So we partner with individuals, with families, with business owners, with nonprofit organizations to really help raise the quality of life for all of us here in Northern Kentucky. And that's our mission. And we've had a lot of fun building it in the last 8 years.
Well, it sounds like you've given that description many, many times in the past. You're well polished. Right. And from my perspective, I've worked with you on certain projects, and when people ask me about you and who you are and what you do, I say, well, I'm not 100% sure. I just know that she keeps us all in line and she takes care of all the money.
It's a big job to be a fiduciary of public charitable dollars. I'll say that. And to your point, I think a community foundation is kind of a niche thing. So even when I was hired, I had familiarity with other community foundations across the state of Kentucky and in our greater region, and they're doing great work. But I think the nuance of how someone might engage with Horizon Community Foundation is really dependent on kind of one of our funds in our family. I'm an attorney. I don't want to get too into the weeds legally, but I think the easiest way for folks to consider what we might do is based on one of those funds. And we'll some of those hopefully during this podcast. But if you think of how a community might grow together in terms of what needs rise over, and really to grow endowments for the community so that when we're long gone and our grandkids and great grandkids are here, that there is this permanent resource, charitable needs of Northern Kentucky. So we are building that right now and really thinking of philanthropy, not just as folks who can pen big checks. Certainly we partner with those wonderful, generous philanthropists too, but how does someone who can put $100 into a shared fund that grows over time and is joined together with their neighbors' charitable dollars, how do you manage that? And so that's what I get to do on a daily basis with my incredible team of 4 of us. There are 3 other teams, and we've really been able to grow over time in large part because of our giving community. And we have an incredible board of 25 Council of Trustee members that are very trusted. It's a big board, but we wanted to make sure when we launched that folks said, we trust this group. We know a handful of the people there. We've heard of their names. We know they care about Northern Kentucky and they have our best interest at heart. So it's not any one person's agenda or their own personal account. Yeah. This is really for the community.
Yeah, it's a well-rounded group, but all those names, when I search that list, it's like a who's who,
I have the best board, in my opinion, in the region, but I know there are other groups that would beg to differ and say that theirs is too. So there's a lot of really great people out there giving back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'll be honest, when somebody goes to your website and they see all that you kind of are involved with, it can be intimidating.
Yes.
And I think of it as, there's kind of a level that is kind of high flying, and really I'm more of the low level community grassroots type of person. How can I roll up my sleeves and get involved in some charitable giving alongside my neighbors? And we'll talk about that here before we go. But I just like that there's somebody out there who, let's face it, we all have ideas. We all think, I would like to start a nonprofit. I would like to start a charity, whatever. And people call it different things, but they don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
They don't know what the next step is. Do I call an attorney? Do I call Horizon Community Foundation now that they're going to know about you? What is the next step? Is there a simple answer there or no?
Well, as an attorney, I can say it depends, right? I think, our goal really is to be that charitable hub. So our hope would be that you would come to our website or give us www.horizoncfnky.org and to just start kind of unpacking what's on the website. We really want to share our stories. If you care about education, if you care about housing, if you care about the arts, parks, safety net services, healthcare. I mean, it runs the gamut, certainly, and that's why it can seem overwhelming. But I think the biggest way to plug in is to think about what you care about, and then really to start looking at one of our 250 plus growing funds, which ones kind of fit into that space, and then to reach out to us and we can share more about, are there nonprofits that are partnering with us in this way? Are there other groups that they might want to plug into? So being seen as that kind of trusted resource is really our goal. And then ideally to align funding, whether it's partnering with donors who have dollars to put out in the community, or if it's with companies, or even partnering with nonprofits. How do we think through whatever issue it is that we're trying to address? And so it's real time. And at the same time, we often use data to think about what's coming in the future and trends so that we can start thinking ahead of time on how we can accelerate towards really some innovative solutions for our community.
Yeah. And you've got to have somebody who is the legal arm that's controlling the money, keeping everything legal, buttoned up and tight, so that there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what's happening to these funds that are being donated throughout the community. And that allows, people like me to then just focus on the mission part of it, the heart part of it.
Yes.
And
we want to be your easy button for giving.
Say what now?
We want to be your easy button for giving.
Yeah, I like that. The easy button for giving. Yeah. And so I think when people reach out to someone like you, and the more I've learned about what Horizon Community Foundation does, the more you realize it's easy to execute a vision, or at least find people out there to connect with that can make something like that happen. Case in point, a friend of mine that Lisa Ransom.
Yes.
She joined with you to bring life to a scholarship fund.
Yes.
In memory of her husband, Travis, a firefighter here in Northern Kentucky. And he passed away from lung cancer. And, his story is well documented around these parts, especially amongst the first responder community, a heck of a guy. And she wanted to start the scholarship fund. And when she told me about it, I'm like, you know what? I don't know anyone that's ever done that. And I wouldn't know where to start. I wouldn't know where to begin. She told me she was working with you. I'm like, okay, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, more people out to us now that we've had, 8 years plus under our belt and people are hearing about us more. when they think about if a loved one passes, or if they're trying to launch, for instance, Campbell County, an education foundation, how do they partner? How do they kind of build something up? They don't have to think about the structure because we handle that. We're kind of that back office, that entity that makes sure that we're in good standing with the IRS. We're publicly audited. So this is really a community asset. But when you have someone like Lisa and her family, or the Campbell County schools, or even, a nonprofit or a church who says we want to do something a little bit more, but we don't have the bandwidth, not sure how to get something up and running, I get a lot of those calls or those emails. And so we sit down, just as we would with any donor, to think through what their goals are. And then my mind is, how do we make it simple? And how do we make sure that we're leveraging the community and allowing them to raise the dollars to meet what their goals are? So again, kind of a concierge of sorts, and thinking through what the community needs and how we can support them.
Okay. Well, you mentioned in passing a few minutes ago your wonderful staff.
Mm-hmm.
And, so I know we've got Aaron, Dawn, and Ashley.
Yes.
And anytime I have a question, I can reach out to one of them. I see them in passing, always a wave and a smile, and they're great people. So if you would like to shout them out beyond just saying thank you for being a wonderful staff,
yes,
maybe if you can just briefly let us know what each of them does at Horizon Community Foundation.
I'd love to do that. Honestly, we are where we are because of our team. And we are lean, and they are superhuman because they all wear multiple hats on a team of 4, managing a $70 million fund. You might imagine there's a lot going on each day. Aaron Slavin is our director of accounting and administration. He really serves as our financial backbone, making sure that we have timely statements. Anytime anyone has questions about kind of our operational aspects or anything financial related, including our board, he is the person who has that data and is able to share the information and provide that to the community or to our fund holders and partners. Dawn Denham is our director of marketing and engagement, and she not only helps to tell our stories of impact and what's happening in the community, but she also serves as what is known in the foundation world as a kind of a program director. So she liaises with a lot of our nonprofits to make sure we're well informed, that we know what their needs are, and that they feel heard, because we are not the experts in all of these various fields that I mentioned. We want to make sure that we're listening to those who have that expertise. And then Ashley Lubers is our newest team member. She also was hired this last year. She is our communications and operations coordinator, and she does both sides. It's hard to find someone who's both left and right brain. So she helps Aaron with a lot of the accounting and administrative piece, but on the helps support Dawn with the website, also social media. So we're often, kind of overlapping in terms of what our work is, in terms of what we have to do on a daily basis. It's a very tight-knit group. So I'm very lucky. They're very invested in the community, and I really have such a great team. So it's a fun time to come together to work each day. And we just moved. We're in the new 1NKY Center down in Covington. So we share our office space with the Chamber, 1NKY Alliance, and our economic development group. So a lot of these different groups have other people that they know too. So we're really kind of operating as like kind of a super regional growth operation for Northern Kentucky here at the 1NKY Center.
Okay, well, very good. And I've not been there yet, so shame on me.
We'd love to have you come for a visit. It's very pretty. It's right next to the Ascent. So for folks listening, if you're down in Covington and you see the beautiful blue and white building that Liebishkin designed years ago, he also designed a smaller building. It almost looks like it's on its side, and it's about 4 stories. And beautiful state-of-the-art business space, and really a community space too.
Perfect. Well, while we're talking about other humans that you work with, let's talk about humans that you live with.
Yes.
Your husband Trey.
Yes. Recovering politician.
He's a good guy, and I see him at some of our meetings, and he's got a pretty interesting background. We really, I'm not going to bother going through all that, but I just want to make sure that we talk about Trey, because I see how he supports not just you, but he supports a lot of the local groups in the area. He does a lot for so many.
Yes.
And just like we're shouting out, your team there, I want to shout out the spouse too, because
Thank you.
yeah, he deserves deserves the recognition.
Well, I guess he does. Yeah, no, I'm happy to brag on him and my family, quite frankly. We live in Boone County off of Richwood Road, and have lived there for, we've owned the house now for well over 20 years. So it has been so much fun. We've been married for 25 years. So Trey is a Northern Kentuckian. He has been here since birth. His family started here. I'm from Lexington, so just a little bit further south on the interstate. But he has been Secretary of State of Kentucky for 2 terms, on Kentucky for 3 years, and he worked at Harvard and ran the Institute of Politics, which was an incredible 3-year period for our family and our 2 daughters. Love Boston. I love oysters too, but Harvard is, as you might expect, is diverse and has a lot of world leaders. So he manages the government relations arm nationally for firm FBT Gibbons, which used to be Frost Brown Todd, but it just merged with another law firm founded in DC or in New York City. So he has a footprint from one coast to the other, but Kentucky's our home. And so that's why we live here and work here and get back here. But he's on a bunch of boards and really cares about our Commonwealth, but also Northern Kentucky and for us to be successful. So he's a lot of fun. So I always joke that when you get one of us, you get both of us.
Yeah.
And then we have 2 daughters. Our oldest is now married. She's in med school at the University of Cincinnati, finishing up. She will be a doctor come April. And I worry we might lose her to the East Coast. Her husband's in the Navy as a nuclear sub-officer. Wow. And they're impressive. They're doing just fine. And then our younger daughter, who is so talented and theatrical and sings and performs and just brilliant in the creative space too, is finishing up an English degree at the University of Cincinnati, which is my law school alma mater. And so 3 of us went to UC in our family. And then we have a little dog, Oliver, who is a miniature dachshund. So he's my fur baby who's at home with us too.
Little short dog.
You have a cute little dog.
trying to survive in this snow with short little legs.
With their little low rider. Yes.
So going back to the business side of things, you had shared with me before some pretty impressive numbers in terms of food pantries that were supported when they needed help here not too long ago. Do you want to just briefly talk a bit about that?
I would love to. And if you'll indulge me, I want to back up a little bit to the pandemic because the lessons we learned from that time, it's like yesterday and like a lifetime ago in so many ways, really informed what we are doing with the food pantries currently. So when the pandemic hit, and we were only a few years old as an organization, and we all went sideways and, we're on our Zoom screens, our Hollywood squares, so to speak. We really decided it was important that we show why we exist. And so we were able to raise dollars to support our neighbors in need through many nonprofit partners. And so we were able to raise $2 million, over $2 million, and ended up being able to help 85,000 neighbors out of the 400,000, which is incredible.
Wow.
But for food and eventually online learning before the local governments were able to provide more funding for digital learning, housing and shelter. I mean, the things that we helped to supply, it just so incredible, the ability for our nonprofits to come together when they were stressed, but to act quickly. We deployed funding very fast with a task force. We did not have applications. We said, please just send us this type of information so that we can make a quick decision and get the money out to folks in need, because it was real time. We were all triaging, and I know many of you listening were helpers on the ground too, and thank you for all that you've done as well. But as a result of that, there was a system of food pantries that we partnered with, and I have to give a shout out to Andy Brunsman and Be Concerned.
which is located in Covington, but he works regionally and served as our quarterback to communicate with all the pantries to get good data to show that the money was being used as it was intended. We try not to make reporting heavy for our nonprofit partners. They have a lot of work that they have to do, often on very lean staffing, but was able to kind of activate this system of, at the time, over 30 nonprofit food pantry partners to provide food resources for those in need during the pandemic. And so, as you mentioned, more recently in the fall, when the government shut down in the fall of 25, and the SNAP benefits were paused, many of us in the philanthropic community across the U.S. were talking about how do we help? How do we leverage what we have right now? So quickly, our to launch a Northern Kentucky Food Support Fund, and we raised just in $270,000, and that money is entirely deployed at this point, and we have a long entail of what happens when the government shuts down and you are facing inflation and higher prices with food and other resources. So the money is still being deployed through the end of February, but we, in the first 2 months alone, helped 25,000 people just through those partnerships. And so through 29 different partners, food pantry, and Andy Brunsman, the quarterback at Be Concerned, really helping us to have a system to be efficient, to maximize those dollars so that we didn't have surplus money being spent on food when we could really, kind of buy in bulk and get some better pricing. Right. He thinks in terms of efficiency and economies of scale. And so we've really been able to leverage that partnership and activate what we learned from the pandemic to deploy it again during this most recent need. So our nonprofit partners are really our heroes in the community, and it's just been such a privilege to get to work shoulder to shoulder with them for Northern Kentucky.
Yeah, we could never name them all in this short amount of time, but just shout out to everybody who was involved in that, because they say necessity is the mother of invention. And when something like that happens, people come together in an amazing way, and new processes are put in place, and the brains get a little bigger because they're forced to, and then thusly the heart gets a little bigger too. So thanks for being part of that.
Oh, well, it was an incredible partnership. As I said, this was a team effort.
Is there anything that we haven't spoke about yet, just in terms of something associated with all you do there at Horizon, that you're particularly proud of or amazed by, or maybe something that just really stands out top of mind, that you just think, oh my God, I'm so blessed to be a part of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know that you feel that way about a lot of things.
I know it's like asking who's your favorite kid. That's hard to do. Yeah. But I do have, many stories to share. Feels like each year has some challenges and then some really wonderful silver linings, and it's happening. One thing I think impact focused, and then I'll mention something data related to tie back to our many nonprofits. I love data. So I hope I try not to get too geeky and in the weeds with, kind of wonky data numbers. But the impact story, partnering coming out of the pandemic and knowing that well-documented loss that happened during that time with our students. And as a parent whose, two daughters are now in college and grad school, it was a tough time when they were in high school at the time, and learning was a challenge even for them. And so taking the opportunity to figure out and to listen to educators in Northern Kentucky and administrators. We have 13 public school districts in our 3 counties alone. It's very unusual for the state to have that many in such a close proximity, but that plus the private schools and even homeschooling, trying to figure out what we could do to help coming out of the pandemic with education. That, by the way, is the top area of interest for our donors and for grant making since inception. Education is something that's wildly popular. And we heard from them loud and clear, especially for elementary youth. We were focused on the younger years. They needed help with out of school time learning support. So after school, summer school, when they're not in their traditional school day, and then also family engagement, whatever family might look like for that student.
And we worked and spent a lot of time researching with national best practices, state organizations, and found out we have a wonderful partner in our own backyard with a group that used to be called Covington Partners, and now it is called Partners for Change. We have a 4-year pilot with them. We're in year 3, where we raised $2 million for this pilot to be able to help students in the urban core in the river cities across multiple districts in that out of school time and family engagement learning. And so we're measuring it. We're making sure there is fidelity in the model that Partners for Change is bringing to multiple districts that have not partnered with them before. And then also how to continue expanding it beyond this 4-year pilot. So there are funders who are interested in continuing this work. We will have a community report, but to really be able to do something that has actually attracted some state dollars to this particular pilot, showing kind of how philanthropy can innovate. And for folks who wanted to give in small amounts or large amounts, this was a fund that was wide open. But we raised the $2 million. We were very successful, and we should have a great report showing the success that we're seeing with that partnership. So to be able to do something that's a little more entrepreneurial like that, I love flexing that muscle for a young community foundation, and to have so many partners who invested and many donors. So thank you to the community for stepping up for our River City students. But we have some good progress. Probably in another year and a half. And the other space, really quickly, with data, for us to have conversations in the community, we can talk about things that we care about and that we're passionate about, but how do we have just cold facts and take a look at like really where we are? So we did a snapshot in partnership with an organization called Ignite Philanthropy. Mm-hmm. And of all the 990s of every nonprofit located physically with an office in our 3 counties, there are 1,700 nonprofits in our 3 counties. However, many of those are member organizations, civic clubs, booster clubs. They may not truly act as like what you and I would think of as an agency, right, or a 501c3. So when we kind of separated all those out, if you think of a bullseye and you keep getting more narrow, we're really talking about 300-ish nonprofits in Northern Kentucky that are doing that true. It's still a large number for our size of a community, but you can get your arms around that list. When you start looking at it, you realize many of these groups are groups that we've supported through one of our funds, and a giving circle even that we'll talk about in a moment. I know, Mike, that you're involved with too. So how do we look at where funding streams are flowing? Where is there opportunity for growth? Do groups that partner together to fight child abuse, to help people who are food insecure, are they collaborating together, and how do we really make those dollars stretch a little bit further? So that data scan was very helpful. It's informed a lot of conversations in the community. So we like that role. That's something, at least while I have the honor of sitting in this chair, like I said, I like using data to make decisions. So that's something that we'll continue to.
You're an attorney, but you're talking like an engineer with data points and numbers.
I am the daughter of an engineer, so maybe that's helpful too.
It's rubbed off on you. Yep. Okay. That explains it.
Can't help myself. Thanks, Dad.
You touched on something that I'm involved in that I'll bring up from time to time in other podcasts, and that is the Give Where You Live. So the 410 Give Where You Live. There's kind of a change that has taken place recently. Yes. Do you want to speak to that a little bit and just kind of educate a bit on what the purpose of that group is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'd love for you to join in and provide your own color, because Mike, you've been a great advisory board member and just advocate and donor. So we're so grateful for all. So what I'm getting ready to talk about is what's known as a giving circle, and this is where across the U.S. Different groups like this emerge over time, where everyone puts the same amount of money in, and they decide as a group where it goes. So this is a charitable group. It is an effort. It is a fund that we manage, but it's really a social way for folks to really to give back with their neighbors and to make decisions on where that money goes. And so there's a process through which that decision is made. And when we launched, we had 2 different groups that had different ideas about the giving circle. So we actually had 2 separate groups, which, as you mentioned, just merged. We'll get there in a moment. One was a more traditional giving circle called the 410, which is the first 3 digits of our zip code. put $410 in, and this was usually a fall kind of calendar each year, where the group would pick a focus area. It's very social. And then if it's arts, if it's education, if it's mental health or financial literacy, they would pick that focus area, and nonprofits would opt in who have impact in Northern Kentucky, and they would apply for the funding from the group. And then the group would review the applications and make the decision on where that money would go each year. And we would announce it and have a big check and have a party at the end. That is a very traditional way for giving to operate. And so we had that one group of folks who wanted to start that giving circle. So we had that up and running for a number of years. And we had another group, Mueller Financial, tipping my hat to our partners, Bob and Woody Mueller, who brought this idea that existed in other parts of the country, really, called Give Where You Live. Ours was Give Where You Live, Northern Kentucky. And this is really speed philanthropy is the best way I can describe it. Mm-hmm. So without taking applications, every member, they would put in $400 for the year. So it's a quarterly meeting, $100 per quarter, only an hour-long meeting, a social place, restaurant, a bar, some convening area. And they would come in, and everyone nominates a nonprofit locally that they care about. They don't have to be employed by them. They may not even serve on their board. They just might think it's a really great group. We randomly select three. I say select, I'm using my hand to show pulling out of the hat. Right. We did that, if you recall, early on, but now we're very digital. And so we do this. And then those three names that are selected, whoever nominated that nonprofit will stand up and just speak from their heart about why they think they're great and why they should be supported. Everyone votes with their phone. And at the end of the hour, all the money from that particular meeting goes to that nonprofit, without even an application process. And in many cases, the nonprofits did not even know that they were going to get that money. Some of them knew because they had representatives there. And I know you can speak to that. But we decided between the two that there could be an ease in marketing this kind of opportunity for people to have a really easy way to enter and partner with Horizon and give back to the community. So we merged the two together and took the best of both in terms of nonprofits opting in with the 410 to apply in an area with a bigger grant, and then also the speed giving concept for meetings where some smaller grants could go out into the community quickly. Mm-hmm. We just announced the merger. We're accepting folks who want to join us. I hope folks will, but the merged entity uses both names, so it's the Give Where You Live, Northern Kentucky, and they can find that on our website too. But it's a lot of fun. Still $410. That's the ask. Every person who puts that money in gets to have a vote, and it's social. It's a fun group. So our goal is to have over 100 members and to keep growing the group as we move forward. But Mike, you've been such a critical part of it, helping to promote it, and I think so many new members have come to us because of you and your platform here and with your publications. So to hear your thoughts now that you've been in part of this group for a good number of years.
I think when you witness it for the first time, well, first of all, before you even go to your first meeting, when you hear the concept, it's genius, it's brilliant. And so you think, wow, we need to get as many people on board as possible.
Yeah.
And then when you attend a meeting and you see how real and raw it is, people coming together, you're doing a lot of the normal networking things, but it's at a different level. And when it's around charitable endeavors, your ears tend to kind of perk up a little more, and everybody can relate to somebody else in the room on some level.
Yes.
And then when these names are called and somebody walks up to the front of the room, they don't know that their name is about to be called, so they're in the spotlight in the moment. It forces them to talk from the heart, and you get so many good, what we call pitches in that moment, because people are just sort of, boom, the spotlight focuses on you. And now you just have to talk about what you're passionate about. And it resonates with so many people in the room, no matter who is gifted monies from this group. Everybody feels like we're walking out a winner.
Yes.
And we get to be part of something so special. And if people say to themselves, I love the concept of giving, but I just want to make sure that it's actually going to what I'm intending. Mm-hmm. And I want to make it simple. And this is very simple and it's fun.
It is. It's very social.
Yeah.
And what I love about it is it's really amplifying your giving. So you could give $410 to any one of our amazing local nonprofits, but knowing you're doing it with others, and that means you're having bigger impacts, so you can think at a larger scale. It's pretty powerful, I think. In fact, we've granted out 300,000 and have impacted 31 different nonprofits already just in these first several years. So I get excited when I think about just the social connectivity. And when I talk with our board, our council of trustees, how do we create this culture of philanthropy? How do we inspire students, families, and maybe anyone on the street who has the ability to feel really part of this community, so that when we think about Northern Kentucky, we're seen as this like bonded group. I love the idea that this is like a very active, low in terms of like your commitment. Each year, we hope everyone comes back, but we just want to meet folks where they are and make it fun and allow folks to connect with other like-minded people.
Yeah. So I guess my parting shot would be, if you are involved with a nonprofit directly, or if you have a heart for a particular nonprofit, and maybe you've heard of this group before, maybe you haven't, but now that we're talking about it, you're like, wow, okay, I get it a little bit better now. I want to be involved in this. That's who we're calling out to right now. We need more and more people involved, because like you said a few minutes ago, we're leveraging these gifts as a group and making big impact in a simple, easy way. And yes, I've shed a few tears at these meetings. Sometimes you can't help it.
Oh, I know. It's so touching. And even if you don't know a ton of nonprofits or very many, I know many members who come in just to learn about the good work that's happening. And so there's a lot of opportunity. And I think the merge helps, because it allows people to groups that they love and to nominate them. But then if you just want nonprofits to opt in on a focus area, we have that piece of it done too. So it'll be a year-round event. Asking folks, if you're interested, to visit our website. It's easy how to get involved. The 410 Give Where You Live is actually on our homepage, so you can click through it pretty quickly and sign up, and we will have our first meeting. So we're asking folks to consider how to get involved and just to sign up so that you can help make impact too.
So again, the web address is horizoncfnky.org.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And that will trail you to a lot of information.
Yes.
Much of what we've talked about today, some of which we just didn't have time to talk about, but it's all there at the website. And they can even see the smiling faces of your staff that works very hard on behalf of everyone in the community. So I think that's really going to wrap it up for this episode, Nance. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Sure. Thanks so much. And thanks to everyone who's taking the time to listen to the great story of our community.
Well, I just want to make sure that everybody out there knows that all of this is accessible to them. And it just begins with picking up the phone or going to the website. You can even call me Mike Murphy. I'll do my best to be an ambassador for Rise Community Foundation. All right. Well, that wraps it up for this episode of the Good Neighbor Podcast. The Good Neighbor Podcast is called Good Neighbor Podcast because we want all of you to continue to be good to one another. So until next time, everyone out there, be good to your neighbor. See you next time, everybody. So long. Bye-bye.